Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Riot Games Arena here in Los Angeles, California. We are getting ready for our final game of the series, our final game of the day, and it's Dignitas against Cloud9. As you talked about earlier, Jatt, this is the only time these two teams will play against each other during the regular season.
Yeah.
If either team drops this series, they don't get a chance for redemption until playoffs.
They really don't, and the playoff format, look it up, it's very interesting. Every seed matters, so every match matters a huge amount throughout the regular season, and I think it will be such a big statement by Dignitas if they're able to pull this one out. I think they were definitely big underdogs coming into the series, and that big game one really did deliver, but now that game two was so long, so drawn out, it really does reset for game three. What I find really interesting here is that Dig is just throwing themselves on the red side once again. I fully expected to come up here and be like, you know what? Dig, they get blue side for the first time. They're going to reset the tables, but they are comfortable with the way this series has been playing out with C9 on blue and them on red, and we get it the third game in a row.
Yep. And we just might have another run back of the same three bans, at least for Cloud9. Last time it was Senna, Ashe, and Kalista. We'll see if Reaper and company want to change anything going into this last game of the series. Whereas for Dignitas' side, the last ban in the entirety was Rumble. It looks like we're following it up in the same way.
So is it still a first pick Taliyah? It seemed pretty effective for their overall game plan.
Yeah.
Game one, their first pick was Corki. Game two, their first pick was Taliyah. I do think if I'm wondering what Dignitas wants to change, it would be a 4 or 5 ban against that guy's Camille, or a Sejuani takeaway for Spica, but we'll see. The Taliyah is still not completely locked in.
I think it depends on how much priority Dignitas want to put on the Vi. We know that a lot of changes has happened in the jungle so that you can pick other champions that are like tanks that farm decently well. I know Maokai has adapted by running Faded Ashes into Liandry so that he has some a little bit of utility control with those empowered saplings. But it looks like Dignitas, as you called it, Jatt, they're going to go for the Sejuani this time. Low committal engage this time so that Spica isn't necessarily full sending it and getting overextended if the play goes awry.
Yeah, they break off a Vi. Blaber did in fact lose on Maokai last year, but previous to that he'd been undefeated on Maokai, as he wanted everybody to know. So it's just a tank versus tank jungle matchup. I do think the Sejuani takeaway is pretty important though, in terms of controlling space for Dignitas. And I think more so they just really wanted to stop that like Sejuani Camille threat that C9 had to play through last game. Even though you didn't see it that often, like just the fact that the threat was always there, that they're going to win any 2v2 was pretty important.
Cloud9 slam the Renekton before Dignitas get a chance to ban it. This is the first time that Thanatos will be getting a hold of that champion. It's been banned in the second round of the draft phase, both games. Dignitas, do they want to pick their top laner now, or do they want to lock in something for the mid lane matchup? I do want to point out that more than likely this will be Maokai and Sejuani jungle. But we've seen Maokai in the support role.
True.
We've seen Sejuani in the top lane role a couple of times. I don't remember if it was in a major region, but I know I've seen it in some of the tier 2 leagues across the globe. It's definitely super powerful, and if you use the Fimbulwinter and Frozen Heart combo, you can be incredibly durable and stack a lot of HP, which scales really well with Sejuani's kit.
So the potential for a Nidalee would still be there if they wanted to pull out the dark arts of Nidalee Renekton, but I do think it's going to be a jungle pick here, and I like the Zeri ban by Dignitas as well, with the only disjointed roles in the first stage of draft being AD carry and mid, so you can see C9 going to continue to ban mid, Dig going to continue to ban AD. What else did they ban here? The Kai'Sa in game one wasn't that effective, although it's pretty good for C9's comp right now. So maybe they just banned Kai'Sa.
Maybe Ezreal?
Ezreal's decent. It's not great into Sejuani. Okay, wow, Lucian, because the pair hasn't been picked yet, so it's a Lucian Nami ban.
Yep. I think the surprising thing is that Cloud9 has not gone for Corki, at least for bot lane. They picked it in game one as a mid lane champion, but It has some decent matchups into the bot lane. I don't know how it plays into Varus necessarily, but the way it seems in my mind, if you run Fleet, you should be able to get through the laning phase albeit the poke that you're suffering from Dignitas. And I know that with the Jax locked in the first round of phase, it's more than likely going to be Jax top and Sejuani jungle. And the Ezreal, Cloud9 potentially think about, but it's the Orianna for Jensen.
Yeah, you know it's game time when Jensen locks in the Orianna.
Yes,
it's been up all series, unpicked. Corki's available, decides that he doesn't want the Corki side of Corki Taliyah. Instead, Old Faithful, Orianna against everything for Jensen. It's a really good team fight comp they have right now, actually.
And you have decent ball delivery systems too. Like Jax can leap in, Counter-Strike stun to set up into the Orianna Shockwave. Sejuani can charge in as well. And depending on what Dignitas picks for Isles as their support, Alistar would not be bad if the conditions were right as well. And the Kai'Sa is locked in for Berserker.
Kai'Sa Rakan, they got a lot of options here. Kai'Sa Leona would be another good one. Just a CC combo with them so they can really fly in on people. It's kind of like a Kai'Sa comp. Everyone can allow Kai'Sa to fly in to follow up with them. So it's pretty important that Dig put a lot of pressure on Berserker early so he doesn't get ahead in the game. Otherwise, he's going to be super lethal. Can you dig it? Yeah, that's what I read.
Can you dig it, sucker? Now, Dignitas, what is the final piece of this composition? They do have low committal engage with the Chain of Corruptions and the Glacial Prison, and it's more of a defensive option with the Braum because the Glacial Fissure is not necessarily a strong engage option, but it can slow down Cloud9 if they look for a pick.
Yeah, they're going for the big outscale here as long as they don't get blown up in mid-game team fights. Braum, exceptional at trying to stuff hard engages. I think especially when you have Braum Sejuani, the CC chaining on anyone who tries to come into your team is just a little bit ridiculous. It is a really, really strong death ball. So I'm going to say Thanatos needs to get going in this game. He needs to be able to create the same type of side lane pressure he did in game 2 that brought them to victory if they want to win this series. Because, man, that Dignitas team looks like it has strong team fighting.
And I just want to flag really quick for the side of Dignitas. I know we haven't seen any level 1 shenanigans quite yet. Both have just gone the 5-man spread. I think when you are running Sejuani and Braum, that is a lot of potential disaster for Cloud9 if you are caught all by yourself and if Dignitas commit 5-man looking for an invade early. You can try to get some early vision down to set up Spica for success if he wants to look for a really advantageous snowball, maybe playing towards that soft side and ensure that Thanatos does not get ahead early.
You're absolutely right. I think the call on level 1 is a strong one. But I'm also looking across the board as we load into this game 3. Dignitas looking very defensive.
Yeah.
They're looking very defensive. They want to draw this one out. They want to outscale. They want to make C9 beat them rather than try to beat C9, if that makes sense.
That's right. That's right. And I think I'm going to let the crowd do the talking.
That's what you love in best of 3. You get the trade wins early on in the series. The energy goes up for game 3, and a strong Dig chance. I think a lot of it has to do with the famous players that they have signed, the storied players that they signed, giving Licorice another chance in the LCS, letting Zven play AD carry once again, hopping Jensen into the mid lane as well, even though it didn't go so well the first time around with Dignitas Jensen. And actually no level 1 as of now, other than some trading in the mid lane.
A little sad, although Jensen taking a lot of damage. Already forced to chug both pots. jojopyun doing the same. This mid lane is super volatile already. Both mid laners are below 50% HP.
It's almost like what would happen in a scrim. You're not in game 3 of a important match. The only time Dig and C9 will be facing each other in the regular season. Jensen always loves and relishes taking down some of his former teams, so you know he really wants this one. And C9 as well, going in early bot lane.
Level 1 all in for Berserker and VULCAN. Gets a decent chunk onto Zven. And as you called it, the Braum passive stunning up VULCAN, getting a decent trade back, but it's still advantageous for Cloud9. The flash forward! E onto Zven, getting his flash out as well. And Berserker might be in trouble. He's got the Braum stacks on top, popping the cleanse, the ignite, forcing Isles away.
So, summoner count. No flash Zven, no heal Isles, no ignite VULCAN, no cleanse Berserker. 2 for 3, because VULCAN flashed as well. It looks like he has his flash up because his head splash. That's Braum for you, man. It's really hard to get aggressive on him. I want to see how Isles plays this game as well,
yeah.
Raafaa, because he had a really off game there at the end, getting picked off multiple times on the con.
The other big thing is that Cloud9 or Dignitas dropped a ward on Blaber's red buff, so they will know once he crosses into the bottom side of the map. Since there's so many...
They just missed it. The ward expired. It was right here, but it just expired before he moved down, so they don't 100% see him here, even if they can assume.
Okay, Berserker still has flash, but Spica is trying to make the move first before Blaber can complete his full clear and affect the bottom lane. If Spica can at least get the summoner spell out of Berserker, it's a win.
It is, and now he can just slowly move up towards his top side, pick up these 3 camps. There's no pesky Nidalee flying around trying to steal his camps. It's just a little slow waddling Maokai, so you get to make these little pit stops in lanes. Good job by Spica.
Yeah, and just really great adaptation. Once bot lane gets super volatile like that, I'm immediately, as a jungler, trying to see if I can get there first before the other jungler can affect the lane.
They didn't leave wards, though. And Blaber doesn't care. Okay. I mean, Berserker's not in lane anyway, so the gank wouldn't have had any real threat.
Right. The sacrifice that Spica does give up is that he is behind on levels. As Blaber is able to complete the full clear, he gets access to that bottom crab. He should be able to get access to the top crab since Jojo already has first push as well. So Blaber is slightly ahead of the curve, but considering that it's a tank-on-tank matchup, I think Spica's okay if that sets up Zven and Isles for success.
Exactly. I think the way that C9 actually win the game is with Berserker getting far ahead, or with Thanatos really pressuring the Jax and taking multiple plates early and using that side lane pressure throughout the game. It's not through Maokai having an 8 CS advantage in 4 minutes against Sejuani.
Right.
So we'll see. Blaber's always incredibly efficient, but I'd say it's just a trade here. Flash for a couple camps.
Thanatos is starting to proxy the top side of the map. Spica getting a reset in. Beelining towards the top side of the map. I don't know if he and Licorice can really threaten Thanatos, as he's going to be walking into the jungle. Spica can jump on top of him, but he's not going to have enough damage as a Sejuani to really threaten Thanatos.
No, definitely not. Thanatos, though, already getting pressure, trying to get some information with which C9 can use it, but lane's really just fairly neutral at the start of this game. Aside from the spiciness we saw at level 1, kind of skill checking each other, ego checking each other, Jojo and Jensen, and then in the bot lane as well. Couple skill shots falling a little bit sideways that could have, I think, led to kills on either side, but that's the aggression level that Zven is bringing up against his former bot lane.
CS is still even between the former duo, now rivals in this AD carry lane. We saw moments of brilliance from Zven on Varus in pretty much the entire series so far up until this game 3. Where's Berserker? jojopyun, is he in trouble? Blaber's nearby. The shockwave just pulls him right back on top of the sombrero. But Spica gets flipped up. And Jojo not in any real danger.
Yeah, Jojo definitely wins that trade. I mean, Jensen probably even lost more health, no longer has the ultimate. And Jojo ends up getting the wave all the way in. If Blaber can take control of River here now with the level advantage, this is where it starts kicking in. They can maybe think about Dragon soon, but yeah, just not enough bot pressure at the moment to make anything happen.
Yeah. And even though they have the summoner advantage on Berserker, it's difficult for Isles and Zven to really punish that and lock him down. You have to make sure that you are connecting the Winter's Bite or tagging him with an auto attack so he can get the concussive blows stacking. And since Berserker is playing at range, they cede wave control, but he's still safe. And it looks like Blaber's going to play for the first rotation of Grubs. Spica doesn't get a chance to really answer back on the Dragon quite yet.
I mean, way higher priority on Grubs for Cloud9 than for Dignitas this series. I think if you're thinking about just the first spawn of Grubs, that's going to be 9 Grubs for C9 and 0 for Dignitas. So part of that is just because Blaber has a little bit of extra time. Their bot lane did decide to reset and is actually moving out top side. So, okay, let's track this. Let's see, with these guys coming up, if they're going to try and dive and break this game open through top lane. Because Dig doesn't know this is here yet.
Yep. Spica is in the area. Will he ding level 6 after this red buff? If he does, then it'll be huge in order to help Licorice survive a potential dive.
He's in trouble.
Okay, and Blaber's here first. Spica is not going to get there in time. Licorice trying to leap strike to Blaber. The flash away. No way he gets out alive. Blaber just one more. The Nature's Grasp. Spica will take it as long as he steps in front, but Blaber flashes forward with the Bramble Smash and clips Licorice into the ground. Spica is forced to flash, and that's first blood for Cloud9.
That's the play, and also the turret fortification is gone now, so they can take plates to their heart's content, even if they're trading them with the bot side. But then since they didn't have someone die, Thanatos teleports into the bot side to check this turret. That was a great overall play by Cloud9, even if it very nearly didn't get the kill.
It was very close and was very dire, but now that is both summoner spells gone from Licorice. jojopyun having yet to make an impact on the map, maybe can look. Oh, VULCAN, Hex flashing over the wall, lands the E, locks down Jensen, but he still has a flash, and he is not pressed to use it just yet.
Jensen very patient on Orianna. I think a lot of people would have considered flashing in that situation, just holds completely strong, lets the wave crash, clears it away, and Dignitas, with the swap back, end up getting the Drake for their troubles most likely. Unless a Kai'Sa W flies over the wall and steals it.
Would have been cool if he sniped it. But Dignitas secure the first dragon of the game. No large inherent gold advantage for Cloud9 quite yet. Just shy of 1K. But they're going to have to do a lot more to really snowball it in this game. As we saw in Game 2, they were, for the most part, ahead, despite not being a huge gold lead. And it took them a long time to close out the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if C9 wins this one, they have to win it faster than that, just because of how much scaling Dignitas has and how strong their 5v5 team fighting is going to be.
Yeah.
So C9 definitely needs to look to continue to make more plays. Like, 1,000 gold through 9 minutes is good. Like, 1,000 gold, 3 grubs, it's a good start to this game, but they need to find more and more plays with, you know, JoJo's Taliyah being unlocked a bit and moving around the map.
And for the sake of Cloud9 fans, Berserker has Cleanse and Flash back up and available. Dignitas did not find a window where they could punish him during the lack of summoner spells. And he didn't even, I guess, lose that much CS. Yeah, he's down 10 CS, but I think in the grand scheme of things, Cloud9 are still going to be scaling just fine.
Yeah, it's really about when they get their first item power spikes, what they do with it. And losing the Drake will hurt them a little bit, but I think overall, if Cloud9 wins this one, it's going to be one of those 20-minute Baron, 20 to 25-minute Barons and taking many, many turrets.
Sure.
But either way, still, we've had pretty low kill early games, I'd say, in this series, even if the games themselves have been fairly active.
Yeah. There's been a lot of meticulous action from both sides of this series. They've been very reserved and at least calculated with where they want to move on the map and make their plays happen. We know in the first 2 games when Spica was playing on the Vi, every time he had cease and desist up for the first 15 minutes, he got something done. This time on the Sejuani, has not found anything yet. He didn't arrive to the top lane in time and ended up forcing to flash away and unable to save Licorice.
Yeah, it looks like Blaber is camping out the next set of grubs. They really want to get all 6 of those, it appears.
I will say, getting Liandry's first on Maokai, while this is still, you know, kind of a tank-on-tank matchup, this is a huge spike when you are going for max control on objectives, because now you start spamming those saplings. And normally if this is tank Maokai, you don't care about the saplings. But with Liandry's rush and early on in the game, those things do take a large chunk of your HP, and it makes it even more difficult for Dignitas to challenge and contest these corridors, as Licorice might be the recipient of another dive, but Isles is here, Spica's here, and Thanatos just goes in too early. The teleport from JoJo tries to save the dive, and they answer back on the Licorice, but can Cloud9 get all of their members out? And the answer is no, because VULCAN was too deep. Dignitas answer with 2 kills.
And also the teleport was expended there, so Jensen can potentially get more free time with this bot turret. Just a poorly executed dive there by C9. Dignitas knew it was coming, but Thanatos just took aggro at the start, got CC'd under turret, and just died. So yes, they kill Licorice, but Thanatos goes down as well, which won't open up a huge gap between him and the Jax. So I like the play by C9. I really like them trying to crash down top lane, but I want to see VULCAN start this play. Berserker jumps in early. They've already burned a lot of their CC, so they think they kind of just have to go. But Thanatos has absolutely no chance with the turret being heated up and killing him. And then, yes, they get Licorice on the back end, but it's a 1 for 2, and Jensen gets plates and farm. A big win for Dignitas with that turret defense.
Yeah. Just not getting a chance to execute the play cleanly and rushing steps. You really want your tankiest members to soak up the turret so they can stand at max turret range while the rest of your damage dealers are finishing off the kill. But the problem with that, since Berserker was the first one to tank up, he had to dodge out.
Yeah.
And the rest of Cloud9 now suffering the consequences as Dignitas equalized the game in gold.
Yeah, back to normal lane setups. Cloud Drake up in about 40 seconds. Jensen trying to rush towards that first item, but it's slow on Orianna because he's gone tier lost chapters, so not necessarily either mid laner is going to be super powerful. I like the Warmog's answer into the Leandries, actually, Sejuani versus Maokai here, because you'll have the jungler checking the saplings, won't end up getting poked out at the end of the day.
Yep.
And watch out, Berserker.
Able to sidestep the Chain of Corruptions, very crucial since he is without a flash summoner spell after the botched dive on the top side of the map. Would have been able to use Cleanse, but then Berserker would have been the prime target for Dignitas if they wanted to go for this dragon and contest it alongside the rest of Cloud9. Berserker below 50% HP, trying to catch this wave. Thanatos is here, but there's multiple members of Cloud9 on the top side after crashing into the tier 1, so this is Dignitas' dragon.
Yeah, Cloud9 gets the tier 1 first, so they get an additional 300 gold. That was one of the changes to incentivize not lane swapping early, as that first turret gold bonus would be increased. But it does mean that second Drake for Dignitas, and I think overall it's kind of going as planned for Dig, because they want to just outscale and absorb. Blaber's taken all the Void Grubs and all the Rift Heralds, but until that turns into something that can end the game, I think Dig is very happy giving it to him.
Yeah, because normally when you have 6 Void Grubs, it empowers a lot of your long-range marksmen to siege the turrets quickly. Unfortunately for them, their only AD carry is a Kai'Sa, and that's a relatively short-range marksman.
Yeah.
So it's harder for Berserker to step up safely, considering that there is a lot of long-range disengage from Dignitas. As the Solar Flare lands on Zven, still hasn't popped the flash, finally does it, but Blaber is already on the way with the Twisted Advance, and he gets taken out by his former duo, Berserker getting the kill, and Isles forced the flash as well.
Really nice play there by Cloud9. 5 people descending on mid lane, burning all 4 summoner spells and still getting the kill. I would wonder if Zven would have cleanse flashed a little earlier if he would have been able to escape, but nonetheless, when you send 5 people mid, you'd expect to be able to get at least 1 kill. Let's watch this one more time. So they have all 4 summoner spells up as VULCAN lands the Leona ultimate, and like right here, cleanse. And then he'd be able to retreat a little bit earlier. That way he might have enough distance so Blaber can't get that W which followed him into the turret. And then maybe they actually live throughout that, but live and learn as Thanatos is getting ganked properly.
He has flash and he pops the Dominus, but I don't know if it's gonna bail him out this time in the 2v1. Easily gets beaten down by Licorice's staff. So the rest of Dignitas able to collapse and pick up a clean kill, whereas the rest of Cloud9 still laying siege to this mid-tier 1. The Rift Herald will crash, and they should be able to pelt the turret.
Yeah, Varus ultimate misses, means C9 can stay fairly aggressive. They don't get all of it, but I think with no Varus ult, no Sejuani ult, they're just going to easily grab it.
Just tap it.
More hit. Tap it in.
There you go. They got there eventually. All right, well, the map has blown open a bit for Cloud9. They've taken tier 1s on the top side and the mid lane as well, so it makes it easier for them to push that vision line, encroaching into the jungle quadrants of Dignitas. And when you have a composition like Cloud9, all these saplings are starting to, or they are going to start littering all the jungle corridors of Dignitas. It's going to make it super hard for them to enter. And if you ever step into a bush and Jojo is waiting, or VULCAN is waiting, lights out.
And the way C9 won game 2, even if it was drawn out, was through really dominating vision control.
Yep.
They played the side lanes well, and they kind of just picked off Isles many, many times. This time, though, I'd say Dig, even though they don't have like an amazing way to answer that. They're just stronger 5v5. So they're more likely to be able to just group up and go than they were in the last game where they had to kind of group up, poke really carefully, and then go. So I still honestly can't really say who's going to win this game. It's been such an incredible series. C9 trying to crash down on this bot lane. They need to make these kinds of plays happen since they don't have any Drakes.
Well, Dignitas answer back with 3 members of their own, so they're able to dissuade the dive. Cloud9 finding nothing on Licorice. Definitely in the same boat with you, Jatt, as well. Cloud9, I mean, one of the big questions we asked at the top of the series was, can they grow from the big conflict from their spring split? Can they find a way to close out these games when they're not massively ahead at 15 minutes? And it comes from a development of how they played the early mid game as they fished for a Glacial Prison, but it is tanked up by Cloud9. No one is in danger quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, you're not killing anybody with Sejuani, Braum, Jax in a 3v4, no matter how much CC you land. I think overall, though... Oh, watch out. Berserker? Hello?
I mean, he's popping the Counter-Strike early.
Get him.
Yeah, he's going to commit the Killer Instinct in. Leap Strike and the Flash from Licorice to answer Vulcan's own Flash. Gets rooted up by the Nature's Grasp, below 50% HP. Spica has to make sure he can herald Licorice out to safety. Double TPs. I believe it's coming in from Jensen and jojopyun. Spica trying to answer back. Decent combo, seismic shove onto Spica. The twisted advance will lock Spica down, and he's just overcommitted once again. Cloud9 punishing the jungler of Dignitas.
Woo! Narrowly escaping. Okay, another positive play for Cloud9, and more importantly, another kill for Berserker, who I think is the key to C9 being able to win this game. Anytime they land a little bit of CC, Blaber can fly in and execute, and those 4-item Kai'Sas still hurt as much as they always have. Third dragon up, though, and because they spent everything on that kill, I think Dig is actually just going to push this to Soul Point unless Blaber can flash in and steal it.
He's going to get vision on the dragon now, thanks to the sapling. But Licorice is blocking the top corridor.
I think I'd almost want to say suicide for this, but they can't get vision to make it a safe suicide.
Yeah. And I think
there's no smite on Dig. He could have just stolen it if he had vision. But
I wonder if Blaber was too cautious, if he had... I don't know. Baron is still isn't up for another 30 seconds. Maybe Cloud9 would have had time if Blaber died for the dragon, got a chance to respawn, deploy onto the mid waves, and make sure that Dignitas just don't rush the Baron afterwards. But yeah, I'm in the same boat with you.
I've been trying to find this window to talk about Dignitas overall because it is actually very exciting that they're pushing Cloud9 this deep into the series. Just because the existing synergy between all of these players, they are a little bit thrown together. Like, they all are connected in a strange way, but to have 3 players that didn't play last split, that have all played a long time, and in theory would all have slightly or very different views on the game, to come together and look cohesive off the bat is just really impressive to me, especially when I think about all the rumors I was hearing that Dig actually wasn't playing that well in scrims.
Yeah,
so they were going through it in off-season trying to make all this work, and first game against Cloud9, like, good luck, guys.
Yeah.
And they're going toe-to-toe with them. They have 3 Drakes. They are down in gold. This is still anyone's game, but it has been such a great series, and I'm just appreciative of these players keeping up their game and getting another shot.
Sure thing. I mean, I think the benefit of having so many experienced players is it looks like Blaber got the steal. Glacial Prison landing right on top of Blaber. He has the flash, but no chance to pop it. Was it worth it? I'm not sure for Cloud9. And actually, I think I'm wrong. Dignitas might have gotten the secure on blue buff.
Yeah, Dig got the blue as well.
Yeah. Oh, then it wasn't even worth it. Oh, man.
And now they're actually moving towards Baron. Blaber's dead. Licorice has TP. He can block Thanatos from moving in. But Berserker's really strong. This is a pretty risky move for Dig. No Sej ult, no Braum ult, no Varus ult, and Baron just trucked him for a bunch of damage. Let's see.
Everything would have to come down to a massive shockwave from Jensen. Teleports are coming in from Thanatos. jojopyun is going to use the Weaver's Wall to try and cut them off, but Thanatos is on the other side. Seismic Shove finds Isles. He's the first one to go down. Vulcan is traded. Berserker commits with a Killer Instinct, trying to get the killing blow on Spica. Thanatos is in the flash. Looks for Zven, but they're kiting him out. But it's the Q that slices Zven down. Licorice is next as he falls to Berserker, and the rest of Cloud9 are on the hunt for Dignitas. Spica trying to get away. Jensen forced
be the series-defining play because C9 now move towards the Baron. They can blow this gold lead to at least 5,000 here. Thanatos, it looked for a second like he wasn't going to quite chase in for the kill, but he gets it, and there's a teleport. Jensen wants something to happen.
Spica, we know this guy can steal Barons, but he can't get into the pit. 1,200 HP. Secured by Blaber, fishing for the Glacial Prison. A flash from Blaber trying to go in on the Spica as well. Jensen might just be caught out here. Oh, massive shockwave! Takes out 2 from Cloud9, but Dignitas is still on the run. Berserker's still alive, and he can still run amok on Dignitas, and they have to seed the fight.
Okay. That was cool. So it's not blown completely wide open. Cloud9 do secure the Baron, but Jensen is going to be a threat for the rest of this game, and you can see how difficult it is to actually push through them. I'd say, where are we going back to? We're going back to the original peel off of Baron by Dignitas. They were so low from Baron. The start of the fight ends up being very easy, and it looked like Zven had done a great job dodging the Berserker engage, but here Thanatos, it's so nice that he can just get the very edge of his Q and then also blast cone himself into safety and Licorice into doom. It was the perfect set of plays at the end there by Thanatos, and Cloud9 do have the lead in this game.
Cloud9 with the Baron buff on their side, as you called it, Jatt. This is the window where Cloud9 need to find one more advantageous fight and look and try to put the finishing touches on this game, because Dignitas are at soul point, which is coming up in 35 seconds.
No cleanse flash on Berserker. So he's 503, he's carrying this game, but if Dig can get him, they can get ahead in this game, because you take out Berserker, you get the soul, and that Mountain Soul is more than enough to make up for the 3,000 gold difference. So massive play here as Mountain Drake spawns in 20 seconds.
Can Dignitas find the inner strength to withstand the onslaught of Cloud9 despite being down almost 4,000, 5,000 gold? Soul point coming up in 5 seconds as Cloud9 fights for posture.
Oh, those saplings are hitting pretty hard, but Dig wants to brute force through.
Hold right onto Blaber, VULCAN's into the back line, but Zven is not touched. Berserker dives right on in. Massive combo from jojopyun. Cloud9 completely delete Jensen and Isles. Spica's on the run. He cannot contest for the Dragon. And this is the Dragon going over to Cloud9. Man, this series has been a banger, man.
That Vulcan engage was so good. He absolutely catches everyone on Dig in the choke point. It allows Jojo to combo up with the seismic shove and doesn't give Dig a chance in this fight. And Licorice
might be in trouble, flashing over the wall. There's no further lockdown for the rest of Cloud9, but that is a summoner spell down for the top laner Dignitas, as they have to now try and defend the rest of their base from crumbling. Cloud9 just making short work of the tier 2 in the mid lane.
And this is best of 3 difference, man. Cloud9 lost game 1, but they might end up winning the series. Watch this one more time. It's so nearly impossible for Dig to actually make it through this narrow choke because they don't have waves, so they can't approach from there. And look at Vulcan. Alting, getting a double stun. Berserker can then fly in the back. No real threat on him since they've been able to one-shot Jensen. Pushes Zven out of the fight as well. And that now makes their goal lead 6.2K.
There's been a lot of growth from players in this series, and I think VULCAN has been finding his stride in the back half of this series now. The first game, a lot of the solar players were not quite hitting, but this time around in game 3, he's landed 2 critical solar flares onto the backline members of Dignitas. Earlier in this game 3, he found Zven, which found them a kill, as well as both the summoner spells from him and Isles, and now that last one near the Dragon, denying soul away from Dignitas and Cloud9. If this is the form that they can try and continue improving on as the summer split goes, maybe they can eventually become the super team that was promised at the beginning of the season.
And I'll say, if the meta is going to be tank supports that build Warmogs, that's really good for Vulcan.
Yes, sir.
He excels at engaging in team fighting and finding angles. He was much weaker in the Enchanter meta compared to his greatness on tank supports. So even if it seems on paper like Cloud9 just changed the top laner, the meta changed, they have more time together. They brought Reaper back as well. He went on a journey. So they're going to have a lot of opportunity to continue to improve and reach the potential that we know they have.
And there's already changes, not just VULCAN individually, but the way he is synced up with Jojo and Blaber. I think the way they've been able to establish vision control is a large sign of growth from what we saw in their games in spring, where they're working together to make sure that Dignitas cannot enter these jungle corridors for free. They're punishing as soon as any squishy member walks into line of sight, line of engage, and Cloud9 have now garnered this 7,000 gold lead in 27 minutes.
They have, and they're now just trying to choke out Dignitas. This is a little bit further behind than Dignitas would want to be, because yes, they have this really strong 5v5 team fighting team comp, but if they can't push any side lanes and they need to walk blind into every situation, it's bad. But
pick on the Jojo! The Sarah shield, but the seismic shove does buy time. Nature's Grasp is coming in over the wall from Blaber. Will it save him? But jojopyun tries to get over the weave as well, but he gets intercepted by Licorice! The counter-strike stun finds him, and VULCAN will be the next one to fall! This is disaster for Cloud9, a big pickup for Dig!
Are you kidding me? Baron's up in 8 seconds. Dig can make it right back into this game. Berserker is pushing mid at the moment. I'm not sure how much he can get, but Dig is just going to go straight onto this Baron. Jensen actually goes to defend. This is going to slingshot Dig right back into the game.
And Berserker will make sure work of this tier 3. Jensen will answer back and clear out the minion wave real quick. But I think the price to pay for a Baron...
Blaber's going to try and steal.
Oh, Blaber. Could he be the hero and make sure that Dignitas don't have the wave back into this game? It's not happening. Dignitas, they're not out of this series yet, folks.
Jensen with the shockwave from the fog of war. Let's see, he just overstays in this bush, catches him with the very tail end of that shockwave, and then the extended chase almost just ends up making things a little bit worse, because it just allows enough time for the Baron to respawn before anyone on C9 would be able to take them down. Great play by Dig. That's like the one way you can come back in this game. They're getting completely choked out. Calm replay. Any side lanes and they need to walk blind into every situation. Slight technical issue there. Couldn't quite hear what Spica was saying, but now Dignitas with the Baron buff trying to push up mid lane.
They can make short work of this tier 1. Dignitas being able to clean out first turret in the mid lane. Cloud9 trying to fight for posture. Soul point is up again for Dignitas. I wonder if Dignitas will want to contest Cloud9 at the Dragon Pit or just continue jockeying for position in mid-wave.
I think they absolutely want to get into the Dragon, but it's because they can control mid-wave through the Baron. So they have deep push in bot lane as well for Jax, and they have way better setup for this than they did last time since they're already in the river.
VULCAN's in, tries to flash on his Zven. Berserker's gonna follow up, but he flashes away from the solar flare. jojopyun is down to the backline. Can he find Zven? Oh, trying to save his AD carry, but he can't do it. jojopyun finds the killing blow on the AD carry of Dignitas, and the rest of Cloud9 will try and make sure that they can clean this series out, but Jensen is still alive. Spica's still alive. Looks like they caught Licorice. Oh. He goes all out on a jojopyun, but he uses the blast cone to get away. He survives. Cloud9 will turn to the Dragon.
That fight from Cloud9 was clutch. They absolutely needed it at the moment, and they weren't starting that from a winning position. Berserker barely made it out alive. Licorice couldn't make it in time, and now Spica would want to go for the hero play, but he just can't get into the pit.
Yep.
C9 hold off.
I need some chance going between both of the fans here as we get a replay going here, Jatt.
Yeah, watch how Licorice can't become involved in this fight. He was pushing the bot wave, and this entire fight basically happens while he's moving up. Zven does dodge well at the start, but then when Berserker stays alive, there's just no sustained damage for Dignitas because their AD carry is down. Thanatos is on top of Jensen on the top left of the screen right there. And then just now Licorice arrives, but the damage is kind of done. No one is left for him. He misses his stun onto Jojo and thankfully gets out with his life, but the overall fight is super in favor of Cloud9. Berserker now 6-0-6. He's had great back-to-back games on Zeri and Kai'Sa.
When we started this series, it was a Dignitas win in Game 1, and Zven was able to hold up and show that he is not an AD carry you can sleep on anymore, and he's still been trying to do his best to play these fights, but Cloud9 have put a target on his back. Berserker has shown he is just as good.
And now the rest of Cloud9 will throw one more engage on the Dignitas. Zven with no summoner spells cannot survive the onslaught. Isles will fall next, and the rest of Dignitas make it out.
I mean, it's been the VULCAN Berserker show here. He's just finding the brief moments when they have the numbers advantage and landing perfect engages. Then Berserker is just so fed in this game that he has enough damage to take them down. Zven, even if he had really great game 1 on Varus, good game 2 on Varus, just wasn't able to help keep Berserker down here. Doesn't look like he can really cut through the Maokai Leona or even the Renekton right now, so it feels like Dig is lacking damage. Licorice isn't involved in these fights, Zven has lethality, and Jensen can't just shockwave them all.
Cloud9 gets to continue the flash forward onto Jensen. The Twisted Advance locking him down for the seismic shove to follow up. Jensen, no more flash available. The Sarah Shield will not save him. Going down, and potentially the last fight of the game. Cloud9, 5-4. They find a seismic shove on a Licorice. Zven is trying to put arrow after arrow, but it's not enough damage as the Stairx Gauge will pop for Thanatos, keeping him topped off. The rest of Cloud9 making way through the inhibitors. Dignitas, can they make one last stand? It looks like Cloud9 will not continue for the end of the game.
They get so much off of that, though. Great engage by Blaber, seeing that Jensen was just being a little sloppy, getting a little too far out, trying to clear that wave, flashing on him right away. That's what allowed them to clean both inhibitors, in my opinion. And Berserker just getting stronger and stronger. Love the Negatron cloak that Berserker just bought as well, since I think like one shockwave is the fear of him actually dying. No one else is a big threat to him at the moment with the amount of lifesteal he has.
Yeah, and even with the Terminus as well, you stack up more resistances as you are continuously auto-attacking the fight. So he is pretty darn durable for a marksman, and that's going to be incredibly vital as he continues looking for these killer instincts to follow up.
So Dignitas completely pushed back here. I'd say Cloud9 bounced back extremely well after that really poor loss in game 1. Did make a quick pivot, more so towards Maokai Sejuani instead of Nidalee, who was going to be going for a way more aggressive tempo game. They made fast enough plays, and now Jojo trying to collapse in onto Licorice. It'll be a while before they kill him if they get him. This is a bit tricky to execute.
There's no flash from Licorice, so as long as jojopyun can find the seismic shove, which he does, gets a decent stun down, but Thanatos is not in range quite yet. But Licorice finds the blast cone, pops out to the left side.
Love to TP away.
Can Dignitas rush the Baron? How much time can Licorice buy? Baron's about to spawn in 1 second. Blaber's in the area.
A lot, apparently. Can he get the turret? No. The thing is, there's a teleport on Thanatos to match, so I don't think they want to start Baron. This is just overall, no way.
Wait, Licorice? Oh, that looked a lot closer than it needed to be for the side of Cloud9, but Jojo does survive.
Yeah, let's see what C9 does with this, though, because Jojo has to base, run back out, but I think Cloud9 could start up the Baron themselves with how much damage Berserker has.
Dignitas are ceding control of the Baron, but they're going to get vision for Dragon Soul. Maybe they can find the pick if Cloud9 are not too careful about how they enter the jungle corridors. When you are down 6,000 gold, I think that is your last shot.
It's a bit of a Hail Mary for Dig. They have been outplayed these last 2 games. C9 has had more cohesive engages. Big shout out to VULCAN this game for making so many plays happen. Now with the Baron buff, they're going for yet more picks.
Jensen, still no flash available, and Blaber is able to close the distance alongside Berserker. No Orianna, no Shockwave available anymore to stop these minion waves from crashing into the Nexus towers.
Another pick, definitely C9 turning it on here.
Teleport.
Baron buff, can they end?
I mean, Licorice is trying to look for the flank. Can he get there in time and threaten? Berserker has both summoner spells available. The Glacial Prison right on top of VULCAN. They go balls deep into Cloud9's backline, but they don't find anything. The seismic shove flips them all back. Cloud9 will find the damage to take out the backline. Zven is still going to barely survive. Can they survive the onslaught? But Blaber's making sure we're in the Nexus towers, and the Nexus will be fell. Cloud9 take to the skies and take the series against Dignitas.
I say the current biggest fans of best of 3 tier list start with everyone on Cloud9, because The story would have been so much different last split after dropping that game 1 to Dignitas and all their former players, and they completely flipped it in games 2 and 3. They were able to pivot within the series to a different strategy. They didn't blow people out in the early game. They actually played the map very well, and they got themselves their first victory of the split.
It was a well, hard-fought series from the side of Dignitas, and even though they do not win, I have to say, I think a lot of people are now understanding why Dignitas need to be respected. So many small moments of brilliance, but in the end, it is Cloud9 that clutched up in the end, and I can already tell the effects of the off-season, Reaper coming in as a coach. It's starting to do wonders for this team and helping towards that growth for the rest of Summer Split.
Yeah, I'd say Berserkers look better than I've seen him look in a while.
Yep.
I'd say Thanatos had moments of brilliance, also moments of being in his first LCS game, because he did get picked off at multiple occasions in this series. VULCAN looks back, so some promising signs for Cloud9. On the side of Dignitas, this is their only game of the week, so they're gonna have to sit with this loss for an entire week. But there were a lot of promising moments with the way they won game 1. It did show towards the end for me their lack of cohesion as a team. Jensen getting picked off, Licorice being late to fights, blowing a few ultimates early in team fights, so they look pretty good.
Yeah.
But just wasn't quite enough to take down C9 today.
Yeah. Well, there's still plenty of time to scale up in the Summer Split, but unfortunately for Dignitas, they're not going to get a chance for revenge against Cloud9 until potentially playoffs if both of them make it there in the first place. But with that, the series is over, and we will be joining Raz and Blaber on stage for the interview.
You're right, Raafaa. I've got the victorious Blaber right next to me. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
First best of 3 of the split of the season. And what's your first take? Because you had a pretty long one, a back and forth one with Dignitas.
I mean, I'm glad they're best of 3s because we would have lost if it was the best one. But I think that we definitely made a lot of mistakes today, a lot of just random deaths. But I was overall happy with how we played the map game 2 and 3. I think we actually kind of were just pulling them around, and it felt good to play. Obviously, I was inting game 1, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I did see the level up throughout the series, and I felt like a lot of it you could probably attribute to the new faces. You have Thanatos on the team. You also have a new coach, so there's a kind of a new environment. Can you speak to that a little bit, being able to work with Thanatos? I guess you also went to Korea as well to boot camp.
Yeah, it's been really good working with Thanatos actually, and his English has been improving a lot. He's been taking lessons, and I've really enjoyed working with him. He's super open to playing new picks, helping the team, playing for himself too as well, and it's just been really nice working with him. And obviously Reaper's back, and I liked working with him in the past, so everything's going smoothly. Yeah,
familiar face on that one. What is Reaper, or at least what is the change that you've seen in the practice regimen, compared to spring to summer? Just anything, and honestly.
I think Reaper's just very decisive on what he wants us to play. After game 1, he said, "Today's not an early day." he's like, "We're not playing that one again." But he's just very decisive on the drafts he wants to play. Sorry. And basically what our strengths are as a team, he noticed that very well in practice as well. And yeah, it's been good working with him.
That's fair. And maybe I should have asked this first, but we talked about the familiar face with Reaper. You guys just went up against a lot of familiar faces on Dignitas. Any words that you had with them going into the series, and if not, any words or a thought process on Dignitas for the rest of the split?
I think that Dig can definitely be good. I like the changes that they made in the offseason. I think that this team can for sure actually push for a world spot. And I know they had a rough loss in game 1 or day 1, but I definitely think that they have potential.
All right, appreciate that. Once more time, everybody, congratulations on Blaber for picking up this win. Day 1, first day of the summer split. Thanks again for the interview. I'm going to be sending this one right back to the lounge.
Welcome back to the lounge. Cloud9 1-0, blessing best of 3s.
Yeah.
Emily.
I love best of 3s.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we are back with best of 3s.
What do you think of the series?
I thought, so C9 looked, I guess, a little sluggish compared to expectations. I think they ramped up as the series went on, and obviously, as Blaber as Blaber said, he's like, well, I'm glad they're best ofs because we would have just lost if it was a single game. That is something I'm really curious about, though, because within a best of 3, it tells its own story, right? Through draft and through what happens. And I will be curious to see how teams are able to adjust after a loss within a best of series. I don't know. I just love best of 3s. I'm glad LCS is back. I'm really happy.
Yeah, good day. We got 6 total
really
games.
Fun day.
Player of the series, I think we have it at the moment for today's series, Cloud9. I know who I voted for.
I know who I voted for, too.
I voted for Berserker.
I'm curious.
Who did you vote for?
I think it's going to be Berserker.
Okay. Well, it's probably Berserker.
Yeah? Okay. I think...
Oh, it's both of the player of the series.
Oh,
APA and Berserker, so we were right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to be right when you vote for player of the series because you're the vote. But
well, we know the pool, right, of who voted for what. Shout out to APA, though, obviously. Coming in, doing his little trash talk thing. I thought he had a really good series even in their loss.
Yeah.
And I think I'm glad that we've now just pivoted away from him, the narrative of him being, again, like a 1 or 2 trick. Like, I think he's evolved so much as a player and is a really important part of TL. And then Berserker's back.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, he did only play Corki and Tristana today,
True.
so he hasn't proven in summer if he can win on anymore. Either way,
Get
we
out
have
here.
tomorrow's schedule coming up at you. The 4 teams that didn't play today will play tomorrow. Starts with 100 Thieves against Energy Fancy, and then Immortals versus Shopify Rebellion, which I will say, analytically, I am interested in because Immortals was, to me, way better than their record last split, and I want to see what they can pull out. And then Tomio will be playing for Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see Tomio's LCS debut. I think, obviously, happy birthday to Tomio, by the way. It's his birthday today. Missing the LCS birthday debut by 1 day. But then 100 Thieves NRG is really interesting to me as well because I feel like 100 Thieves kind of ended on a downturn with everyone being like, they're bad in scrims, they're frauds, but also saying the same thing about NRG and saying that their win was a fluke. So I think both of these teams have a lot to prove, and they're starting it off by facing against each other.
Yeah, that's our schedule for tomorrow. Really fancy game 1. And then someone just hates Immortal Shopify Rebellion because they don't get the fancy graphics as well. I don't know what's going on with that. That'll be it for us. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific for 100 Thieves versus NRG. It's definitely going to be a good one. It was a good first day of LCS.
That was fun.
Now we're going to send you away, and we'll see you tomorrow.